All right, why the heck am I starting a podcast called Statehood for Artsakh? As you can see right above me, this is the map, and this is, my hand goes out, but the Statehood for Artsakh's up there. Why am I doing this? Well, I'm not Armenian, I'm not Turkish, I'm not Azerbaijani, but I'm a human, and I care about injustice. I care when bad things are happening to people, and especially when it can affect the whole world. We've got a situation brewing, and to some of you, it's some far-off foreign land. For many of you, I imagine there's a number of Armenians watching this, and a number of Christians watching this, and this is a very important region for Armenians and Christians, and I'll get into explaining what I mean at the end of this video. But let's get back to current events. So you may be saying to yourself, what can I do about a conflict that's happening on the other side of the world? Unless you're on the other side of the world watching this video. If your YouTube hasn't been blocked by your government, good. I'm glad the message is getting through. But for most of us in the West, we have no idea what's going on. But it's conflicts exactly like the one happening in Nagorno-Karabakh that have the potential to pull the entire world in. For example, imagine you're living in the United States in 1941. For 2 years, Jews have been massacred in some foreign country, and most of those in the United States probably had very little knowledge of what was happening, innocent Jews being massacred. And then one of our territories gets bombed by an ally of Germany, the Japanese. And all of a sudden, it's front and center, and there's a world war happening that we're involved in. Similarly in World War I, it had started in some far-off foreign place, and we got sucked into it 2 to 3 years after it already started. Well, that's why it's important to pay attention to what's going on. So this first article, I just want to read a few things before I do. I've started this podcast. In the previous episode, I said I'm petitioning the government. I'm petitioning the President of the United States to recognize statehood for Artsakh. And it's not a formal petition yet. It has to start somewhere. It has to start as a groundswell. It has to start small. And here we are on a YouTube channel that I just started a couple months ago, and we've got close to 100 subscribers. That's the beginning. And if you are watching this, you already care, but you need to do more. Subscribing is the first thing, and then sharing this video is the second thing. But both are equally as important. If we can get the subscribers up and more people watching it and spreading the word, I'm going to network with as many people as I can. In tomorrow's episode, I got an email from a guy who's actually a missionary. He was a missionary in Turkey for 15 years, and now he's a missionary in Armenia. So I think he speaks both languages. He definitely speaks Turkish, and he's talking about what's happening there right now as a guy on the ground firsthand, and he can speak the languages and decipher the misinformation. So I'll read a little bit of an email I got from him and show you a little video. What I'm saying is, if you're watching this, it means you care about me, care about what I'm doing, or you care about this issue. You've got to share this video and subscribe. That's not self-promotion. It's just the facts. Your voice gets louder, and your voice is added to my voice. The more subscribers and the more views. That's how it works in this culture. I work in television. I've worked in television for 15 years, and it's ratings, all about ratings. Those who get the highest ratings have the loudest voice. So consider this your voice. I'm speaking for you. If you want this important information to spread, I really do want to petition the government, but I'm not going to do it with only 100 subscribers. If I can get to 1,000 subscribers in the next couple weeks, maybe I'll set a goal. We'll watch those numbers tick up. They've been ticking up. We've had about 20 new subscribers just in the past few days. So it's not difficult, but you have to do it. I can't do it all myself. There's my pitch. So let's just read some headlines. Turkish armed, this is from Reuters. Turkish, from today, 7 a.m., October 14th, 2020. Turkish arms sales to Azerbaijan surged before Nagorno-Karabakh fighting. Ankara, which is the capital of Turkey, for those of you who don't know. Turkey's military exports to its ally, Azerbaijan, have risen sixfold this year, with sales of drones and other military equipment rising to $77 million last month alone before fighting broke out over the Nagorno-Karabakh region, according to exports data. I won't read all of the article, but the figures compiled by the Turkish Exporters Assembly, which groups more than 95,000 exporting companies in 61 sectors, showed Azerbaijan bought $123 million in defense and aviation equipment from Turkey in the first 9 months of 2020. About a year and a half ago, the president of Azerbaijan and the prime minister of Armenia met in person for the first time, and there was hope that they were going to resolve this. There was hope that this was going to be peacefully reconciled. Politicians do politicking, and maybe it's the coronavirus lockdowns that, and I did read something at some point where there was some blame. You know, when we're locked down, people get agitated and irritated, and their bank accounts shrink and start suffering and look for a cause to go out and make a difference in the world. And so if you've been living in a country that is hostile towards another country, maybe there's a spirit of nationalism that rises up in you in those times. And, well, it seems like something's been going on behind the scenes, or preparations have been made, because this was started by Azerbaijan. And I'll get into what case they have. They have a case. You know, this is our land. The United Nations recognizes this territory. Well, this is a much bigger story than just what the United Nations said, and even just what Russia said in 1923, or the Soviets in 1923. That's all history we'll get into. I don't want to belabor that. I just want to move on to another article real quick. This is a world conflict. Armenia has major allies, but they're not really American allies. And so my petition to get the United States president to write an executive order to recognize statehood for Artsakh, there may be an issue. Russia is kind of an ally to the Armenians, but they really use Armenia as a pawn. But Armenia's probably closest ally, just geographically, of necessity, is Iran, which is not a friend of the United States. And it turns out China has poured a bunch of money into Armenia as well. And so the United States and China are not on very good footing right now. And then on the other side of the conflict is Azerbaijan, whose major ally is Turkey, and Israel gets 40% of their oil from Azerbaijan and has sent weapons. So it's a very messy conflict. That's what I'm saying. We have to pay attention to this. It could escalate rapidly into a major global conflict, which we don't want, which is why I'm doing this in the first place. We don't want war to break out. We don't want people killing each other for reasons that can be resolved. Russia calls on Armenia and Azerbaijan to respect ceasefire in Nagorno-Karabakh. So a ceasefire was called a couple days ago. It was Saturday, October 10th. That's just to trade dead bodies. We killed some of yours, here are the bodies, and here's some prisoners. It's supposed to be an exchange and a ceasefire. I don't know how much of that actually happened, but there wasn't a ceasefire very long. Guns started going off, and for all intents and purposes, Russia said, stop shooting, and they ignored Russia. And Russia's the big dog in the area. That's why it has to be someone like the United States. And I, again, emphasize, I'm not saying put boots on the ground or sell munitions. I'm saying recognize statehood for Artsakh will get everybody's attention, that the United States of America is paying attention. Russia's made fresh appeal to Armenia and Azerbaijan to respect a badly fraying ceasefire in the breakaway South Caucasus region of Nagorno-Karabakh, with both sides blaming each other for fresh attacks, including on civilians. The truce was supposed to come into force last Saturday, but appears to be failing, with the defense ministry in Nagorno-Karabakh, a territory inside Azerbaijan but governed by ethnic Armenians, accusing Azeri forces of launching artillery and rocket attacks in several areas and claiming to have shot down an Azeri Su-25 fighter jet, although Azerbaijan denies this. The next paragraphs are how Baku, being the capital of Azerbaijan, makes the opposite claim. No, Armenians started attacking our military front line, etc. So it's going to be back and forth, but if you're in a territory, essentially Azerbaijan wants to eliminate the Armenians. I'm going to close with this. I'm going to go to this camera and just explain this map briefly. You have several outlines here of what was considered Armenia over the years, over the generations. In purple up here, you can probably barely see it. That's close to modern-day Armenia. So this is Armenia, this is Azerbaijan, but this all used to be Armenia. And in World War I, the Armenians were massacred. And those who saw the massacre coming fled in this direction. They were deported into the desert to die in these cities in the desert. But those who were able to escape ahead of the massacre fled this way. They fled across Armenia and into Nagorno-Karabakh. They were escaping this way, and the Turks were moving this way. And the idea was for the Turks to merge with the Turks of Azerbaijan, for this to be one empire. It was the Ottoman Empire. They were trying to expand their empire. It was shrinking over here, and they wanted to expand over here, and it was ethnic cleansing. The Azerbaijanis are ethnically Turks. The Turks are obviously ethnically Turks, and they were trying to create a superior race or a utopia for the Turkish people, and the Armenians were in the way, and the Assyrians and the Greeks. So that's a brief history. Again, I mentioned tomorrow I'm going to read part of an email from a missionary and show a video that he's posted. I'm just going to show a piece of the video and then link to it. So come back tomorrow.